All right, for more on everything coming out of Yemen today, we're being joined now by geopolitical strategist John Sitilides. John, good of you to be with us today. So no question about it, the Houthis immediately claimed this drone attack on Yemen's official government military parade at the Al Anad Air Base in Aden, where American special forces once led their fight against Yemen's al-Qaeda branch there. Many are questioning where the Houthis acquired this drone. Insiders are saying that it came from Tehran. Your thoughts?
It might be too early to definitively ascertain the origin of the drone, but we know that the Houthis are fully armed and funded by the Iranian government with specific purposes to undermine the Saudi and UAE-backed government in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen. At the same time, you've got these Iranian-backed rebels attacking the Saudi and UAE-backed government. You've got another multi-dimensional battle taking place between al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and Islamic State, which has also now taken root in Yemen. So it's a horrific scene every which way. But the question right now is, why would the Iranian-backed Houthis undertake this type of a drone attack, a shrapnel attack, on the military officers there the day after the UN envoy was at the Security Council talking about the ceasefire and looking to see how we move peace efforts in Yemen forward?
It's certainly not going to help the peace efforts there. And that strike happened during what was supposed to be, as you said, the ceasefire, so that all sides in this Yemeni fight can get aid through the ports and, most importantly, to the people who are on the brink of famine. I think a lot of people understand that now. What does a move like this do in hampering the ability of, say, the UN to get much needed aid inside those borders if attacks like this are happening during a ceasefire?
I would expect there's still going to be a major effort to get humanitarian aid to the suffering people of Yemen. Right now we have maybe the world's next great humanitarian crisis, up to 25 million people without the ability to obtain food in the weeks and months ahead. But at the same time, it'd be difficult to imagine there's not going to be some type of a retaliatory response from Saudi Arabia or the United Arab Emirates, whose officers and whose personnel were at that parade. And they can't, I think for the sake more of Gulf politics, if not anything else, allow an Iranian-backed attack against their personnel to take place unscathed.
But now, speaking of Saudi Arabia and the UAE, the war in Yemen has finally come to light within the mainstream media due to the death of the Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. His death highlighted Saudi Arabia's role in the region, especially within Yemen, for this humanitarian crisis that we're witnessing. Some might argue that Saudi's backing and interference is why the situation is as dire as it is. It's been sort of an unbalanced fight, if you will, with the backing of Saudi Arabia. How might the U.S. sway Saudi's action in that region and sway the UAE?
I'm not sure that's the U.S. intention, Manila. This war began in 2014 when the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels attacked and overtook the government capital in Sana'a. The Saudi government and then the UAE came in full force in 2015, and it's been a horrific war, as are almost all wars, of course, for the last 3, now going on 4 years. But I think the U.S. sees an opportunity here to prevent Iranians' larger regional hegemony strategy from taking root. They already have a strong foothold in Syria and Lebanon, in Gaza, and obviously in Iraq. They're trying to undermine the government in Bahrain, and they've been looking to undermine the government in Yemen for the last 3 to 4 years. I don't think you'll see much of a change in battle strategy. I think we'll be continuing to support Saudi Arabia and UAE, but with much more of a concern for the humanitarian impacts of the kinds of attacks we've seen against Yemeni civilians, including one that killed many innocent people just a few weeks ago.
And is this a proxy war between Saudi and Iran?
It absolutely is.
Wow, just flat out. I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. And what's the solution here, John? Might Yemen end in a possible two-state solution where it's the Shiites on one side? I mean, how do you see this playing out?
I don't know if there would be a quote-unquote Shia component to some type of a diplomatic resolution in Yemen. You don't really have a Shia population there to speak of that's sizable in any way. It's more a matter of Iranian efforts to undermine a pro-Saudi Sunni Arab regime in Yemen. Remember, Yemen was 2 separate countries only a few decades ago. So there could be an option to divide the country again. But I think we also have to keep in mind how important Yemen is beyond the Gulf. It sits astride one of the most important maritime choke points, the Bab al-Mandab, that connects the Indian Ocean and Asian markets through the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea and European markets. For oil and container shipping, Bab al-Mandab is critical. It's very important that whoever is in government in Yemen is a supporter of the liberal international order that has given us the kind of peace and prosperity throughout most of the world over the last several decades.
Fascinating. Good point there. I don't think anyone's talking about that. So we'll have to keep watching. Obviously, unfortunately, see a lot more pain and strife happening before a resolution comes about. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, John Sitilides.